Welcome to our presentation on Dasypodidae, more commonly known as armadillos.
Before choosing a taxon to study as a group, we spent time looking through the collection at the Natural History Museum in Oxford and considered which specimens would be of interest to us. After much discussion, it was decided that we would look at Xenathra, a taxon which is native to Central America and contains armadillos, sloths and anteaters. Whilst doing our research, we came to the conclusion that it was too broad of a taxon to study in detail and chose to narrow our focus onto Dasypodidae, the North American branch of the armadillo family. We chose to focus on these armadillos as we found the display in the Natural History Museum to be interesting, along with a curiosity to learn more about their fascinating evolutionary history.
What is a taxon? A taxon or taxonomy is a classification of species with a well-defined role. Taxonomy was introduced in the 18th century by Swedish biologist Carl Linnaeus. He classified the natural world into three kingdoms: lapids, also known as minerals; vegetabilia, also known as plants; and animalia, also known as animals. There are 7 obligatory ranks in the modified hierarchy of taxonomy, consisting of kingdom, xylem, class, order, family, genus, and species. The taxon Xanthra is one of the basal placement superclades. It is approximately 100 million years old, originating from South America, and consists of very specialized mammals. These include armadillos and anteaters, as well as sloths. They all share unique features including supplementary invertebrate articulations, internal testes, slow metabolisms, few no incisors canines, and checked tough enamel. The armadillo is one of those unusual mammals. They have a rich evolutionary history with hundreds of recognizable fossils. The Cingulata families. These are various different armored mammals found mostly in tropical and subtropical climates around Central and South America. Most of these species inhabit grassland areas as well as forests. The armour on armadillos consists of movable bands that cover most of their body. As well as this, in most species, the armadillo is nearly hairless and covered in scales that are derived from its skin tissue. The 3 and 9-banded armadillos are called that as it correlates to the number of movable bands on their body. The order Cingulatus consists of Dasypodidae and Chlamyphidae. The Dasypodidae consist of 9 species in a singular genus, while the Chlamyphidae consists of 13 species in 8 genus.
Unfortunately, only fragmentary specimens of early armadillos have been found, making it difficult to estimate when exactly they first evolved their shells. However, the earliest evidence of a shell dates back to 55 million years ago. Xenathra are one of the most basal groups of mammals, with a primitive metabolism to match. Only the egg-laying monotremes are more basal. This primitive metabolism may be the cause of the development of a shell, as the early Cingulata would have been unable to outrun or outpace predators, necessitating the evolution of defences. The genus we have chosen to focus on is Dasypodidae, the North American armadillos. They diversified from the rest of the Cingulata family around 3 million years ago, making them amongst the oldest genera of armadillos. Cingulata have taken many forms and filled many niches in the past, from rhinoceros-sized herbivores such as the glyptodonts to the leopard-sized carnivorous Macroeuphractus. They are a very diverse family. This diversity can be seen amongst their fellow Xenathra relatives. In order to understand the diversity of Dasypodidae and other armadillos, we must first look at the diversity amongst Xenathra as a whole.
The Cingulates are mostly insectivores and herbivores with small to medium-sized bodies weighing up to 60 kilograms. In the past, they were much more diverse and had larger population sizes. They even used to be related to the giant ground sloths, some of which would grow larger than elephants, as well as some of the most armoured mammal species on the planet and smaller grazing mammals. They originated in Central America, with some species, including sloths, managing to make it up to North America, where only the armadillo is still alive today. Some of the evolutionary adaptations that armadillos have that make them unique are their lack of incisors and canines. They also have a smaller brain, but an unusually large cylindrical brain case to protect themselves from predators. Also, to protect themselves from predators, they have their most notable feature, a postcranial processus on their lumbar articulations. These are not found on any other mammal. Their tympanum bone is ring-shaped. Their cervical vertebrae ranges from 5 to 9 depending on the species. With this varying degree, it is very uncommon in mammals, as most only have 7. Their forefeet have 5 toes, with a few exceptions. However, they only have 2 to 3 long, sharp, curved claws. Finally, they also have an unusually overly well-developed cortical process. This gives the mammals an amazing stability over their shoulder joints. You can see all this and refer to the images on slide 5, where it shows their claws, their vertebrae compared to a rabbit's, and their brain case.
Armadillos as a species are geologically biodiverse, with all 21 members of the species living in similar but differing environments. All members of this taxon, other than the 9-banded armadillo, live on the continent of South America, in common countries like Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, and Peru. However, the 9-banded armadillo is the only armadillo of the taxon to be native to the United States and North America, being found in states of Texas, as well as another North American country, Mexico. The general area armadillos live in is in forested areas, with some members preferring moister areas such as swamps and wetlands, and others that prefer the more arid areas such as grasslands or deserts, as seen primarily with the fairy armadillo. The hairy long-nosed armadillo is very interesting in particular, as they are most commonly found at higher elevations in subtropical forests within that region, with the cooler temperatures potentially contributing to the reason for them having a greater amount of fur on and around the carapace. For this project, we have chosen to highlight the giant armadillo in particular, not only due to its great size, but also because seeing a skeleton of it at the Oxford Museum of Natural History, for the photo seen on slide 2, inspired us to further research a Dasypodidae taxon. However, the giant armadillo is also rather interesting due to the sheer size of it. In the wild, they can roughly weigh up to 30 kilograms. However, in the more ideal conditions of captivity, they can reach nearly double that weight, weighing up to around 80 kilograms. Due to their larger size, they have large claws. In fact, they have the largest claw-to-body weight ratio of any known mammal. The giant armadillo can be found in areas of wetlands and subtropical forests in pockets of nations such as Venezuela, Brazil, Guyana, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina. Although it can be found in all these nations, they are abundant in none of them. However, this is due to them being listed as vulnerable by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, due to common issues found by species in the previous mentioned nations, with the main issue being habitat loss, which is caused by deforestation for the wood, as well as deforestation to make room for agriculture, and then the final main reason being them being captured for illegal animal trafficking. And due to all these issues with their habitat, their current population in the wild is only around 30,000 members.
As well as displaying a host of morphological adaptations, armadillos have some behavioural traits that are not only vital to their survival, but can also provide some insight on how the taxon as a whole has survived and has adapted to its surroundings. Armadillos, on the most part, are solitary animals, and only tend to interact when breeding or supporting their young, which tends to only last a relatively short 6 months to a year. This solitude means that armadillos have developed some behavioural traits that have helped them to avoid predation independently. Their tendency to burrow underground provides an obvious benefit for them when trying to avoid predation, and this behavioural advantage, coupled with the adaptation to survive with decreased levels of oxygen, means that burrows are the primary way in which armadillos can avoid predation. This adaptation to low levels of oxygen also contributes to its slow metabolism for a mammal of its size, meaning that it can spend up to 80 to 99% of its time in burrows away from danger. The 9-banded armadillos in particular are known to dig a series of tunnels which are interconnected to allow a greater chance of survival in the situation of an attack from a predator. Its armour-like shell has been linked with a slow rate of movement for an animal of its size, which may also contribute to its tendency to remain underground. When armadillos are mentioned, the first thing we think of is their shell. All species of armadillo possess an armoured carapace made up of dermal bone, similar to the makeup of a modern vertebrate skull. This hard exterior allows armadillos to display many different defence mechanisms, but also has a profound impact on its everyday life. As already mentioned, the large shell means a slow rate of locomotion, but this is the cost that the armadillo must pay for increased protection against thorny vegetation, predators, and parasites that are serious threats to armadillos. The 3-banded armadillo is the only species that can roll itself completely into a ball to entirely protect itself from predators. This is a truly unique survival trait and shows the diversity of the family. However, it does make this species more vulnerable to human hunting. The 9-banded armadillo, instead, has the ability to jump up to 3 to 4 feet in the air to avoid predation. To summarise, armadillos, as well as closely related families and species, display a variety of different traits and features that make them a truly diverse animal. Their unique shell-like exterior, as well as their intriguing behavioural and evolutionary background, means that it is no wonder that there is such a heavily researched background knowledge around this species.